Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Kemisinola Afuakwe. Today we are going to be learning how to cut this wide leg pant trouser with pocket. And on our next tutorial, I'll be showing you how to sew it. But for this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to cut it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also put on your notification bell so you can be notified when I upload new tutorial videos like this.
Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like
trouser pattern drafting tutorial. Just kindly pay attention. As usual, we start with the full length, and the full length of our pants trouser is 44 inches plus 1 inch for M. So I'm going to be marking those separately, not together as usual. I'm going to mark the 44 inches first, then the 1 inch for M underneath that. Then after doing this, I'll take my pattern curve, my pattern ruler, to just rule this out. And also on the hemline. So after doing this, the next thing to do is to measure 3 inches from the hemline all the way up to the top of our pattern paper. So I'll measure 3 inches at the side, at the edge of the pattern paper, all the way up to the top of our pattern paper. And after doing this, the next thing is just to take your ruler and rule that out. The reason for this line is because the pants we are making today is a wide leg pant trouser. So that's why we're having that 3 inches out there. The next thing to do now is to mark our hip line. And our hip line for this trouser is 10 inches. And our crotch line is 12 inches. So the hip line here is 10 inches. And our crotch line is 12 inches. The reason for our crotch line being 12 inches is because the pant trouser we are making today is an high-waisted pant trouser. So that's why our crotch line is 12 inches. So after ruling that out, I'm going to label our crotch line, our hip line, and also the waistline. And then the hemline. The next thing to do now is to divide my hip line and measure my hip divided by 4 on the crotch line. I will measure my hip divided by 4 on the crotch line, which is 10.5 inches, and I'm going to mark the same thing on the waistline. Don't worry, everything will come to play very soon. So after doing that, I'm going to measure from that waistline all the way to the crotch line, the 10.5 inches. I'll mark a straight line. Just watch what I'm doing. I'm going to mark a straight line. Then now on the waistline, I'll mark the waist measurement, the waist divided by 4. I'm not going to mark the normal way we mark from the edge all the way out. I'm going to be marking from that 10.5 inches all the way in. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. Then add 1 inch for that. Then place my pattern curve to get the hip measurement. To get the hip to the waist curve rather. So after that, on the crotch line, I'm going to divide the crotch line the 10.5 divided by 4 inches. 10.5 divided by 4 inches is giving me 2 1/4. But I'm going to be using 2.5 inches. That's the standard I use for all my pant trousers. I use 2.5 inch to get my crotch curve. So I'll be using 2.5 inches here. And now I'm going to extend the crotch line out. Then I'm going to use my free hand to get the crotch curve. You could use your armhole curve for this if you have your armhole curve. Don't make it too deep and not too out also. So just curve that part. So I'm using my marker to make this more visible. So after doing that, the next thing to do now is to get the grain line of our pant trouser. I'll be dividing the lines at the crotch line, including the 10.5 inches and the 2.5 inches, and we have 13 inches here. So I'll be dividing that by 2 to give me 6.5 inches. Remember, I'm not placing my measuring tape at the edge of the paper. I'm starting from that 3 inches that we measured the other time. So now I will also place on my waistline to measure 6.5 inches all the way down to my hemline, and I'm going to rule that out. This is our grain line. This will help us in getting an equal side of the leg of our pant trouser. So after marking this is our grain line. The next thing to do now is to get the leg of our pant trouser. And to get this, the total wideness of the leg of the hem or the end of the pant trouser is 32 inches. So I'm going to be dividing my 32 inches by 2. 32 inches by 2 is 16 inches. So now this is 32 inches. I will divide that by 2 to give me 16 inches. This place can be confusing, to give me 16 inches. And that 16 inches, I'm going to divide again by 2 to give me 8 inches. So that 8 inches is what I'm going to be placing on the grain line to mark 8 inches on the left hand side and also to mark 8 inches on the right hand side. That means the front part of our trouser for one leg is 16 inches, and when we cut the back side, it's going to be another 16 inches to make 32 inches altogether. So now, since this is a wide leg pant trouser, I'm going to be ruling from the crotch line all the way to the 8 inches that we have at the hem line. So just rule all the way there. Use your ruler and connect the lines. And also at the side of the crotch, do the same thing there. This is the inseam of our trouser. The inseam of the trouser is the line at the inner part of a pant trouser. That's the inseam. And this is our pant trouser, the pattern drafting of our pant trouser. So now I'm just going to get the dart. I'm marking the dart, which is 7 inches length, and also marking ½ inch, and then to connect. So after connecting, the next thing to do will be to add 1 inch on the both side of the trouser pattern. And this is our grain line. I'll be adding 1 inch by the sides. 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inches, 1 inch. Then now the next thing to do is to get our hemline. So I'll just be folding my pattern paper this way. Since the pattern paper is visible, I'm using a white pattern paper. I'll fold it this way. I'm going to be using my tracing wheel to just trace the hemline. Just watch closely what I'm doing. I'll be tracing this way. So after tracing, I'll be taking my ruler and my marker to just rule out whatever line the tracing wheel has dotted there. So now this is the full pattern drafting for our the front part of our pant trouser. Now I'm just going to take this and place it on a new pattern paper to use my tracing wheel to trace out so we can pattern draft the back. So now I've placed the front pattern on a new pattern paper, leaving 4 inches at the top part, making sure the edges are aligned. I'm just going to be using my tracing wheel now to trace the front pattern on the new pattern paper. Notice I didn't have my 1 inches yet. I didn't add any inches, any sewing allowance on the front pattern before tracing. After tracing, you are going to add the sewing allowance. So now I'll just trace and trace every line on the front pattern, transfer it on the new pattern paper. Now I'm using my ruler to rule out every line that I've transferred on this new pattern paper, because from the front pattern is where we are going to be getting our back pattern from. So now this is the front pattern that has been transferred onto a new pattern paper, and I added 4 inches. I added 4 inches at the top of the pattern paper before I started transferring. So now this is it. That's the 4 inches that I added to the top of the pattern paper before I started transferring the front pattern onto a new pattern paper. So now the next thing to do is to mark 2.5 inches from that crotch line and then rule that down. Remember the 2.5 inches that we added, so I'm just going to be ruling that down to have a straight line there. So I'll measure that 2.5 inches again. You know, we have 2.5 inches there. I'll measure this 2.5 inches. Then here I'm going to divide this by 2. We have 4 here, divided by 2 is 2 inches. So from that 2 inches directly up, I'm going to be measuring 2.5 inches. The 2.5 inches, I'll measure it directly up. Then from there, from that 2.5 inches, we are going to be marking our waistline slanted. So just watch closely what I'm doing. I'll be extending my waistline. The waistline that we have at the front, I'll be extending it. So this is the back pattern. This is just for you to know we are pattern drafting the back trouser, the pant trouser. So I'm just going to be measuring our waistline. Our waistline plus our dart is what I'm going to be measuring from that 2.5 inches slanted. Slanted. See, I'm placing my measuring tape. So it's slanted. After marking the waistline there, I'll be taking my ruler to rule a straight line. I'll rule a straight line. So now this is our waistline for the back. The slanted line is the waistline for the back. So now the next thing to do after getting our waistline is to get the extension for the back hip. So this is to accommodate the hip at the bum of the female body part. So I measure 2 inches. What I use for my trousers, pant trouser is 2 inches. So I'll be placing my pattern curve from that waistline to the 2 inches. I'll be placing my pattern curve this way. Then I'll be marking a line there. You can see the curve there. So now the next thing is to, from the 2 inches, to place my ruler, then rule into the leg of the front full length. So the full length for the front, I'm just going to be ruling. So we are not marking another extra line at the full length for the back. I'm just going to be using the same one for the front. So just watch how I'm placing my pattern curve. So now that is the side, side for the back. Now is to get the other part. So that 2 inches we made, 2.5 inches that was measured before for the crotch, we are going to mark another 2.5 inches. This is for the back. So after marking the 2.5 inches, I'm just going to extend the crotch line to the front. So I'll be marking that 2.5 inches and I'm going to extend. So from that 2.5 inches now, I'll be measuring ½ inch downward. ½ inch downward from the 2.5 inches. So after marking that, we are just going to get our crotch line now. Our crotch curve rather. So just watch how I'm going to get the crotch curve. I'm going to rule, then also use my freehand to curve that the crotch part. So you're just going to use your freehand, because you use your armhole curve if you have one. So now I'm marking out the wrong part. That is the front crotch line that I'm marking out. That's not our crotch line. So I'm just marking that out for you to know that that's not part of our pattern. Then after doing that, that's our crotch line. The next thing now to do is also to mark from that 2.5 inches that we extended into the leg of our pant trouser, the way we did for the other side. By now, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, kindly click on the subscribe button and also put on your notification bell so you can be notified when I upload new videos. So now I'm using my marker to just make this more visible. Also marking out the front line so you can know this is not part of where we are going to cut. So now that's our waistline. So now we are going to divide this. We are going to measure where the dart line is at the front. So after marking, I'll be marking that same measurement on the crotch, on the back waistline. I'll be marking the same point on the back waistline to get the back dart. Mind you, that for your pant trouser is optional. You can choose to add that, you can choose not to. It doesn't make much difference. So the back dart length is 5 inches. So I'll just be marking the 1 inch, half inch on both sides, then marking my dart line. So we're almost done with the pattern drafting for the back pant trouser. So this is our back pattern for the back pant trouser. Now I've gone ahead to add my 1 inches all over, except the top and the bottom part of the trouser. So that's the 1 inches. Now I am just going to cut that out. So just watch closely where I am cutting. I am not cutting on I'm cutting on the outer line. That's the 1 inches that was added on the outer line. That's where I am cutting. So just watch closely where I'm cutting. So you don't cut the wrong line. So now this is our back pattern. You can see the waistline, the 1 inch that was added, the sewing allowance. Now this is our back pattern. I'm also going to go ahead to add 1 inch at both sides of the pattern. So after adding the 1 inch, this is how our front pattern is looking. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out also. Have you clicked the subscribe button below? So now this is our front pattern for our trouser. We are done with the front and the back pattern. The next thing now to do is to pattern draft the pocket. So we are using a V-shaped pocket. Yeah, a V-shaped pocket. So now I'm just going to be marking the sewing. You know, we've added our sewing allowance, our 1 inch sewing allowance. So I'm just marking that. I'm extending that line out. So now our pocket is 2.5 inches. You're not going to start from the 1 inch sewing allowance. You're going to be starting on your main line, 2.5 inches. if you are going to be adding the sewing allowance, that's 3.5 inches, and the depth of our pocket is 7 inches. So that's the depth of the pocket. So now I'm just going to take my ruler to rule that line out from the 2.5 inches to the 7 inches. So you can see that's our pocket opening. I'll also be marking the 1 inch sewing allowance. That's not part of our pocket because that's going to be going in. We are going to be sewing that in. So now to get the pocket bag is going to be starting from the dart line. I'm going to be dividing what we have on our hip line to the crotch line. I'm going to be dividing whatever we have there by 2. So the difference that we have between our crotch line and our hip line is 2 inches. So I'm just going to be dividing that by 2. So the pocket bag is going to be stopping there. So now I'll just be marking a dotted line from the that part, from the mid part of the crotch line and the hip line into the dart line. So just watch closely what I'm doing because I'm using the same marker, so it might just be difficult to understand. So now I made a mistake here. I'm not supposed to cut this out yet. I'm supposed to cut out this part. I'm supposed to first pattern draft the pocket bag before cutting this out to get the pocket opening. So now, but you can also do it this way, or you can draft your pocket bag first. So now after cutting out this part, if you cut out this part, that means the next thing you are doing is to get your pocket opening. So now I'll just get a new pattern paper and then use my tracing wheel and my pencil to transfer the shape of this pocket opening onto a new pattern paper. So now I'm just transferring both the side of the front pattern, the side. I'm going to transfer everything onto a new pattern paper. Just watch closely where I am marking. So after marking, I use my tracing wheel also to get the inner part. So now whatever line that I've been transferred onto this new pattern paper, I'll be using my ruler and my marker to make that more visible. So now what we are doing here now is the pocket opening. So I'll cut this out. So after cutting out, this is how our pocket opening is looking. You can see the 1 inch. You know, I said the other time that I wasn't supposed to cut this part out. So now I'll be using my paper tape to join it back to the front pattern so as to get the pocket bag. So after using my paper tape to hold that part together, I'll be using another pattern paper to get the pocket bag. So now I'll be using my pencil and also my tracing wheel to transfer the lines for the pocket bag onto a new pattern paper. Just watch closely where I'm transferring the side, using my tracing wheel to also get the down shape of the pocket. So now I'll be using my ruler and my marker to make the lines more visible. So So now this we are doing is the pocket bag. So you can see the essence of not removing that side before pattern drafting the pocket bag. So now after cutting, now this is how our pocket bag is looking. This is our pocket bag. And the first one we did was the pocket opening. So now you can see how our pocket bag and our pocket opening will be looking when placed on each other. So this is how it is. I'm just going to sew down 1 inch, and you can see me placing my hand into it. This is how your pocket is going to come out. So now we are done with our pattern drafting. This is our front pattern, and this is the back pattern, and this is our pocket. Thank you guys for joining my tutorial class today. The sewing part is going to be coming up very soon, so just watch out on the channel.